Hey, it's Sean, and I'm doing the Caravel. This is an example of a Caravel. Here are some more examples of Caravels. As you can see, there are various different types. The qualities of Caravels. Not all Caravels were designed the same way, and many changes were made all the time throughout history. The Caravel was a small ship known for its high maneuverability and speed. Caravel was a small, lightweight ship, and it varied in size. The Caravel generally, though, had a capacity of around 50 to 200 tons. They generally had 1 to 3 masts, however later on 4 was not uncommon, as I showed you earlier. No extant or surviving remains of one of the original caravels remain. There is also very little iconography or pictures left of them. They had lateen sails, which helped to give the caravel the speed and the ability to sail windward. The caravel also had a keel which did not go far underwater, which in turn allowed the caravel to sail in shallow water, like rivers. Due to all of these qualities, it was an esteemed ship and was one of the best of its time. The sails of the Caravel. The Caravel had both lateen and square sails. The lateen sails were generally rigged in the mizzen mast or the back mast, while as the main mast usually had square sails, but in the earlier versions, lateen sails were on all the masts sometimes, as in the one to the left, or the one in the picture to the left, while as in the one to the right is a mixture of a square and lateen sails. The Caravel origin. The Caravel was originally developed in about 1451 under the sponsorship of Prince Henry the Navigator of Portugal. The version of the Caravel began to be used around the 15th, 16th, and 17th century. It is believed that a variety of different peoples could have brought about the name, but we do not know for sure. But the earliest source of this vessel being mentioned was an official document by the English, which stated how they had to pay the least amount in taxes because they were a smaller ship. The name Caravel may get its name from the ancient boat type known as the carabus in Latin. The Caravel does have a similar character to the Corab, an Arabic vessel, and some speculate that the word Caravel comes from Corab, and if so, that would mean that the Caravel is of Arabic origin. The Portuguese made the Caravel from a fishing boat, which had already been around for about 300 years before the Caravel, so they developed that into what we know as the Caravel. The Caravel's uses. The Caravel had been used for several things and has changed since its first use. The Caravel was widely used in explorations during the Age of Discovery. The Caravel was used as a trade ship during the spice trade. The vessel was later on also used for battle, protecting cargo ships, as an escort ship. The Caravel's version for fighting was called the Caravella Redonda or Square Rid Caravel. The use of the Caravel in the Age of Discovery. The Iberian Peninsula. Located in Western Europe, south of France, and surrounded to the west by the Atlantic and east by the Mediterranean, is a peninsula where both Spain and Portugal are located and where the Caravel was used. Nations that used the Caravel, I said before, Portugal and Spain were the two nations on the Iberian Peninsula that used the Caravel. Portugal was one of the two nations to use caravels to a great extent also. They used caravels for the exploration of new and uncharted territory, largely in regards to Africa and Asia earlier on, and they used caravels to find a trade route to India by going around the southern tip of Africa. This was the organization that funded Prince Henry's projects and developments, and he was the leader of them also. This is why all the ships had red crosses, because of the organization's funding. This was also in all ships involved in exploration of seas and forever became associated with Portuguese discoveries. It later became one of the main symbols of discoveries of the Portuguese overseas empire. caravels to a fair amount. King Ferdinand's wife Isabella was the one who sponsored Columbus, who used caravels. Also, Philip II set standards for mercantile shipbuilding, including caravels. Thanks for watching.